we'll get started. Virginia's ability to supply skilled and trained workers for new edge-cutting industries, as well as our existing employment needs, is essential to the long-term health and success of our counties and the Commonwealth. Even though unemployment rates remain relatively low, training and education of the 21st century workforce will allow communities to diversify their economies and grow. This session will discuss state and local efforts to ensure that Virginia remains America's top state for business. We are joined today by two experts in the field of workforce development. First is Dr. Megan Healy, who was named the Commonwealth of Virginia's first ever Chief Workforce Development Advisor and serves as a cabinet member of the Northern Administration. Prior to her appointment, she was the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Academic Services and Employer Partnerships at the Virginia Community College System. The Chief Workforce Development Advisor oversees a range of regional, state, and federal programs that connect Virginians to the skills, training, and opportunities they need to thrive in the 21st century economy. She is joined by a friend of Dinwiddie County, and that is Senator Frank Ruff, who represents Virginia's 15th senatorial district, which represents the counties of Brunswick, Charlotte, Mecklenburg, Lunenburg, Nottoway, and parts of counties of Dinwiddie, Halifax, Pennsylvania, and Prince George counties. A member of the General Assembly since 1994, he chairs the Senate Committee on General Laws and Technology and serves on the Senate Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources, Finance, Privileges, Elections, and Rules Committees, in addition to a wide variety of studies and commissions that include the Virginia Board of Workforce Development and Go Virginia. Let's give them a warm welcome. Ladies first, Dr. Healy, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to see a lot of familiar faces. In September, Governor Northam and I went on an 8-stop workforce tour to go around and to really listen to the business community and community leaders on what workforce should look like in Virginia and get some ideas. Because we know that there's lots of challenges that we're noticing in Virginia, thinking about what are some of the solutions. Currently, thanks for mentioning, I know the governor spoke this morning, and he mentioned probably workforce is top priority, and it's been really, really exciting to work with him on thinking of what's the future of workforce and what's the topic of today. So currently in Virginia, we're actually at a 2.7% unemployment rate. This is the lowest it's been in a really long time, but at the same time, we have plenty of people that are looking for jobs still. Even though we have more jobs posted than people looking, we're actually seeing a huge mismatch of skills and figuring out how the workforce system to build that bridge. So in my role, I have actually 1 foot in business and 1 foot in education. So I oversee a lot of the career and technical education at the K-12 level, building that bridge to the community college system, through the workforce pathways to short-term credentials, which thanks to Senator Ruff to help build out that program, and then really working with universities, making sure that people with bachelor's degrees can get jobs. And also with an average debt of $30,000, we make sure they get a good paying job. And so work with all the different levels of education. But really, the 3 things that I work on, and they start with P, so I can remember them, is first is about partnerships. And partnerships is the workforce system and the education system should be driven by the business community. And that partnership needs to look strong. It should be by work-based learning, by how do we build our internships, how do we have the businesses engage our education community, and making sure those right skills are there to make sure you fill your jobs. And jobs look different these days. And we talk about the future of workforce. What keeps me up at night is actually cashier jobs. Thinking about what can be automated, food services jobs. When I have some people that come to one of my 61 career work centers across, when we're trying to get them a quick job, get food on their table for their families, one of the easy things we can do is maybe put them in food service or retail. But think about your grocery store. Anyone have Aldi or Lidl near you? They don't actually employ people anymore. You pack your own groceries. They have stockers. They might have 2 cashiers. Even Walmart, is our largest private employer in Virginia. They don't have readers anymore, and you also have to scan all your groceries. And like many people, I have a 2-year-old, so actually going to the grocery store is actually a nightmare for me. So what do? Yeah, that's naughty. So what I do is I have my groceries delivered to my house. And so thinking about what that looks like, what that future looks like is really, really important. And so it might be a different skill set. And we have to make sure that the business community is not telling us what the jobs of today are, but what are those jobs of the future. And we're also looking at innovative partnerships with businesses, if it's through apprenticeships. Think about registered apprenticeships or internships or co-ops. How do we start training people day one and get them a paycheck so they can further their education? The second one after partnerships is pathways. Making sure that education system is providing the talent that you need. During the last year of the governor's administration, we invested $5 million into the community college system to flip them upside down. We've been doing this kind of secretly, silently, but we're availing it because January 1, new programs are coming. So anyone who goes to community college on a workforce pathway, even though 2/3 of community college students go for that transfer pathway to one of our fantastic universities, public and private in Virginia, if the student's on a workforce pathway on day 1, they're actually going to learn a skill. They're not going to be taking an English, math class, psychology class. They're actually going to be taking those hardcore classes that they really want, the technical classes, those hands-on learning experiences. Because we know community colleges, if they drop out, and they do drop out because they have one of the lower completion rates, they actually get a job. Make sure that they are more employable. And the examples are welding. So you're going to learn how to weld day 1. After you get through your basic welding class, if you want to go weld on a ship in the eastern part of the state, you want to weld in advanced manufacturing or in agriculture on the western part of the state, you're going to learn that after your basic welding. And then you're going to learn, maybe I want to own my own welding shop. So I'm going to learn some entrepreneur skills, some business skills, and also take English and math. They're also really important, integrated. If you're interested in computers, on day 1, you're going to learn about computer programming. You're going to learn what a network is. You're going to learn, basically turn that computer on and go to work. Level 2 is you might want to do cybersecurity or network administration or be a computer programmer. And level 3 is most of those jobs transfer to a university. And so starting in January, level 1 is going to actually look the same. That basic skills for all workforce pathways in the community college is going to be the same across the state. So we're really, really excited that we put that investment to making sure that students get that skill on day 1 because a lot of them will drop out and get a job, and that should be definitely a success. We're also investing $2 million into a new type of high school. We have great examples across the state with the next generation learning, our academies in Hampton. We are looking at how do we build these pathways with employers at the high school. And so with our new grant that's going out the door next week, it is basically the high schools for innovative talent models. They're going to have an employer to do mentorships and internships at the high school. They're going to have to work through a community college to make sure there's some type of dual enrollment or a community university to provide some college credit for those skills gained. And then they're going to have to think about restructuring the program. So these would be schools within schools or particular tracks that we're supporting. And as well as partnerships, we know that we have about 650,000 people out of work. We are actually cross-training all our social services, mostly in our SNAP, which is our food, nutrition, our TANF, our child support offices. We're training all folks on the front lines to actually know what the jobs are, because we really want to make sure that we know that really the idea of a social benefit is to get all social benefits. And really thinking about how we better work together to make sure that everyone knows what those great jobs are and what are those pathways. And then lastly is about performance. So we have partnerships with businesses, pathways to our education system at all levels. And lastly is around performance, is making sure people know what those great jobs are and they're getting them. We love jobs with family-sustaining wages that puts food on the table for families, and making sure that we can look at what's effective, what supports we wrap around people to make sure that they can get a job. Because we're at this point, as you guys know, we need people working. We need all people working. And so figuring out what are those best pathways, what are those best supports, how do we know better career assessments, and then also awareness around that, and then performance and structure, because in my position I do have different resources that go to different pots, and I want to make sure that we best use our resources.
Megan did such a good job. I think we ought to just give her a round of applause. But Mark's paying me so well, I got to say something. I want y'all to visualize an ocean liner, and you want to turn directions. It takes a long time and a long distance to do that. My trip has been about 20 years. I had a friend who was teaching electronics at Parkview High School. He was tough. If they couldn't do the work, he failed. He was taking people to national competitions and winning. But the guidance counselors started sending him poor quality students, and he had to start teaching them algebra so they could do electronics. Got down to 6 students, and finally they decided to end the program. He was getting them jobs that were paying more than the teachers were right out of high school. Nobody could see any problem with that. The next step, the community college invited me to come up and speak to their board. And I said, the problem with you people is you measure things in degrees. We in the real world measure things based on what value you bring to a business. If you've got a degree, you can't provide and carry your weight. We don't need you. So I started down this process. And 2008, when the economy started falling apart, we had a lot of good people who had been working in businesses 20 years, give or take, who were losing jobs, no fault of their own. And say they will become welders. They get laid off in March. Go to the community college. Community college says, yeah, sure, we'll be glad to train you, teach you a new skill to be a welder. Our program starts in August or September, and in 2 years we'll make you a welder. Now imagine this person who's 30 years old, got a dependent or two. He's either not going to start in the program, or he's going to start, and when he finds a job doing something else, he will take it, because if not, he's going to go bankrupt. So we developed this idea of training people faster. If you can't be a welder in 6 weeks, you shouldn't be a welder. The community college system had developed the way it had because to get Pell Grant, federal money, you had to stretch it out. If you could stretch it out for 2 years, that's a lot of Pell Grant money. But that's not a solution. We were letting the bureaucracy determine how the process worked. We should have been more focused on businesses and the people that needed jobs. And so this fast track has done that. We have focused mostly on manufacturing skills in the first couple of years. We need to do a better job of moving into the construction industry. Dale Moore walking here. Dale's hiding from me. Dale has an electric contracting business in the Lynchburg area, and he was having trouble getting folks to get it. So he decided he would start his own school in Alta Vista, and he teaches them to be electricians, to be plumbers, to weld, to do those skills that are necessary. We need more people like Dale Moore. We have a fella in the Richmond area who has been involved in the construction process. He irritates the city government a little bit, but he grew up in Clarksville, so we've had a good relationship. But he couldn't find painters and carpenters and folks like that. And so we have to continue stretching those fast track programs and make them work. When the community college started the truck driving school at Southside, they made the decision that they would do the behind the wheel the first 6 weeks, and then they would have 10 weeks in the classroom to fill out the 16 weeks necessary to get the federal grant. Well, the money comes at the beginning of the course. You learn how to drive a truck in the first 6 weeks. If you get a half a brain, you go get your license. and then you can quit, take a job, make your money. But we've got a lot of people that could be making great money in every one of our communities. My plumber retired a couple of years ago. We had a problem about a year ago. The only person I could find to do the plumbing was 74 years old. And he was in high demand because nobody else was doing it. Every one of our communities needs people doing these skills. Every possible industry that comes in needs people who are proficient in machining or welding or whatnot. And if we don't pay attention to what those employers need, they won't come. We've had two good announcements in the Danville area in the last couple of weeks, and both of those had to have, they would not have come, I don't believe, if the pipeline of machines was not coming out and was well respected. So I bored you to death now, so Mark, take it back over.
Okay, so we're going to open the floor up for questions, and I'll start right there.
Okay, $5 million, that's great to get people certified and at work. What are you doing to teach parents that that's available and to get counselors in high schools to stop directing everybody to college? Because that's where it's coming from. Parents and the counselors are saying, putting kids on a college track whether they need to be there or not.
My wife is, well, a teacher, she's retired now, so I can freely criticize teachers. But the mentality in the schools that everybody has a D+ degree and everyone's ought to be going to college. That's a ridiculous concept. Every one of us parents are stupid. We think that our kids are smarter than everybody else, so they ought to be going to college. Of our 4 kids, our third son down started at Tech under duress, and he came home at Thanksgiving and said, I want to join the Navy. I said, finish the semester if you can. Navy has taught him a good skill that he can make good money at. But he was smarter than his mother.
Let me just suggest something radical to you, and that is the kids going to college need those skills.
Sure.
Because they have summers that they've got to pay for school. Can't we teach them sooner in community college? Can't they get that basic welding? I mean, make it an SOL. You're now employable when you leave high school. You may not like doing welding, but you can make $20 an hour as a welder. Now, get yourself into college because you can pay for it.
Well, the first step is we have to take the blinders off and open people up and understand. And the first step was people thought, well, we need to change what's happening in the high schools. But no, what we need to do is show them in the middle schools that there are a range of things. And I think if you do that, I think if each one of the high schools and middle schools are acclimated towards doing that, then you're going to see people making decisions. One of the things that the program that Dale Moore has in Vista, Liberty College, Liberty University, realized what he was doing, and they started encouraging kids to go down there and learn a skill with their hands while they were doing their academic work in college. So there are different ways of doing it. You're not wrong, but I don't know how you can regiment schools any more than we have regimented too far already.
I would like to answer one of the things on our workers for the governor we heard over and over again with employers. We talked to over 1,000 people. Was I have these great jobs, how come no one knows about them? And I had construction companies say, hey, I've been trying to reach out to the high school counselors, and no one will let me come talk to them. So we've heard that over again. The other problem we have in high school is when we talk about school counselors, our current ratio is 1 to 450 students. The gold standard is 1 1 to 250 students. So we are putting money potentially in the budget this year to look at school counselors to make sure we have more of them. But then what does a school counselor do these days? I have 17, and they'll be 17 on Thursday, a 15-year-old, and a lot of it now with teenagers is anxiety and depression and emotional support, and they're doing all this mental health work, as well as they're administering SOL tests on the side. And so when are we going to have those conversations about careers? And then what is their awareness of those careers? And so one of the models we are looking at, the governor's on record saying this, is Georgia. They have 3 different types of school counselors. One is for that emotional mental health support, which is a higher licensing. One is they kind of like an academic support, which is testing. And then the third, they call them like career navigators. And really a person who's there making sure, yes, this is your career choice. Now you might have to go to 4 years, you might have to go to 2 years, you can get this job and take the CTE program. The other problem is we are seeing the pendulum swing back during the recession with budget cuts. As many of you guys know, at the education level, we did cut career technical education. They're expensive programs, especially construction trades and a lot of electrical, as well as it's really hard for us to find teachers. So you think about that plumber you mentioned, in Northern Virginia, a plumber makes $130,000, and I think they only work weekends. That's a great, how am I going to get a teacher in the high school making, I don't even know, a quarter of that. So we're trying to figure out really creative ways of that, as well as we do see an issue. I was at one, I'm not going to tell you which one it is, a regional career and technical center, and the person who gave me a tour pointed out every special needs kid in every single class. Oh, they're doing great with special needs. I'm like, CTE is not just for special needs students, it should be for everyone. Right, that great example. The dean of UVA engineering told me it's amazing how they have to have pre-classes now because students coming into engineering don't know how to use screwdrivers. Like basic, they don't work on cars with their dads anymore. Cars, you plug in the computer. I have 3 sisters, so I helped my dad fix the car when I was growing up. Holding the flashlight, so I actually know how to use tools. But they're saying it's totally different these days. That we have all these students who have the skills, so it would be great to kind of bring back a lot of those career and technical education programs.
Not to extend this, much more, but schools are not the only place. The community has to understand the need. My wife works with the Girl Scouts, and she does the little ones, and they're that range, but all of them are in below fifth grade and below. They brought Microsoft in with 3 people who had learned how to program. And they were explaining to them the options that the girls had to do that. Not him. No, don't let him in.
Senator, just for the background, Senator and I go back a really long way. We both had hair. I would suggest to you that one of the issues is the model. We ship kids off to VOTEC. And so we don't have a comprehensive CTE high school anywhere in the state at this point. There are a number of national models that have started to show some pretty dadgum good results with a comprehensive CTE high school. The kids go there, they learn their math, geometry, and it's applied in the work environment. So I'm going to learn some basic math stuff in carpentry. And I'm going to apply it, which is far better than when I learned some algebra and geometry in the abstract in the classroom. At the same time, in the comprehensive high school, the kids don't play basketball there, they have their own football team, there's a community. And I think that's probably part of the reason. And a better model for CTE would be a governor's school approach rather than the VOTEC centers where, okay, you get on a bus at night, you go into the VOTEC center. The second part is with regard to the employers, and I think that while there's certainly a role for community colleges, I think that's a little late for a lot of kids. It needs to start in high schools, and there needs to be more emphasis, as we talked about. And as the senator said, show the kids options at the end of their middle school years, expose them more in the early high school years. Hampton's doing that with some of their academies. There's a push to do some other things down in that area, which are far beyond that. But at the same time, one of the things that South Carolina's done very successfully is provided tax credits for high school apprenticeships. And that's driven a lot of their manufacturing job attraction because you're gonna come here and you're gonna work 3 hours at the end of your school day. I'm getting a tax credit for it, you're getting a paycheck for it, and you're in a qualified, and in a lot of places, union-based apprenticeship program, which at the end of your apprenticeship, and you're gold, you got the car. So just some thoughts.
Any ideas?
Yeah, I can mention a little bit. So we are excited that we received a Department of Labor grant around expanding apprenticeships. And one of the things with apprenticeships, registered apprenticeships, is youth apprenticeships, is basically that the student can do the hours before they're 18. When they turn 18, those hours count towards a full registered apprenticeship. And we have some great state models in our state and a lot of excitement around this. So part of our grant application was how do we expand these. And we don't expand them just in construction trades, which is when you think apprenticeships, most people think of those in union groups. We're looking at how do we expand apprenticeships in healthcare. Other states do that. We do not. The other is IT. Cybersecurity. I have a large company in Northern Virginia that's trying to do youth apprenticeships. We've done better apprenticeships with Amazon Web Services. But looking at that, I think it's a fantastic model that we're hopefully expanding, especially the grant we just received in September.
Yes, sir.
I think one of the things, I'm glad this gentleman, he reminded me of it. One of the things that happened with the vocational schools back some years ago, that stigma got associated with it, that kids were put on the bus, they couldn't cut it in the regular school, and they was busted up there for 4 or 5 hours a day. So somewhere along the line, the state has to funnel a different culture down, a different thinking, because I know a lot of the kids, when my kids was in high school, it was always, okay, those kids, they're not doing well in the other school, so we shipped them up to the vocational school. And that's still kind of sticking with them today. My kids been at school like 10 years now, and it still goes on now.
Well, whether all that busing is necessary, I don't know, but the cost of the equipment is so expensive that you can't do it everywhere. In Pennsylvania County, I think they have 6 high schools or something like that. So they have one center, and they bring students there part of the day, but the machining program that they have in community college is so powerful that there's a waiting list to be able to get on that bus to go and learn those skills, because those kids, when they finish, are starting close to $50,000 at 19 years old.
Yeah, one of the things Governor Northam started Bill Virginia, which is looking at construction trades and advanced manufacturing. And the 2 recommendations that came out of that group recently was awareness campaign. Thanks to Mr. Ruff came, and I know Christy was here, helped host. We went around the state. That was 8 visits to, I think some other folks in here were at our Bill Virginia meetings. But number 1 was awareness and a campaign. You know, I would love to have a T-shirt or ask students what we do with $1 million, because that we've seen that those construction trade jobs, especially through apprenticeships and other skilled trade programs, that over a lifetime they can make an extra $1 million and not have college debt. And so thinking about what that kind of campaign is, or I make, $70,000 on the back and it says like electrician, wear that to school. I think, what does that look like, and trying to figure out some type of campaign. And so that's one of the next steps that we've had from our Bill Virginia tour. We heard that loud and clear.
Let me make a statement first, and then I'll ask my question as follows, okay? Like many here, my night job is board supervisor. My day job is a whole other job. One of my roles is fleet manager, and I've been doing fleet management for 20 years. I've got over 100 CDL drivers. Work in the farming, ag business, so a lot of these kids have grown up driving tractor trailers since they've been teens, right? And February 7th, 2020, the rules changed. As an industry, we know that we're already struggling with our ports and everything, just getting drivers. And that's offering drivers today 70,000 plus paychecks. But what's happened is, with the new rule that's about to come in place with the Federal Military Safety Association, is it's taking away my opportunity to train my drivers. Because now I have to have a certified trainer, whereas before I have CDL drivers fully qualified, been driving for years. They do a ride-along, they do the whistleblower, the new entry-level driving, and they're qualified after 40 hours of training, and they go out and workforce and ag industry. As it is, all of that changes unless I can then hire or train a new CDL certified trainer. We don't have the money to have that additional person to train new entry-level drivers coming in. And to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense when I have more than qualified CDL drivers that can train these guys, and they've just pulled that out from underneath us. And now I have to hire, or go through a hiring firm that spends 4 to 6 weeks of education and money, and it's just, that's a mess. They went backwards on that.
Those things the federal government does do.
So can you help us out? It's an educational thing as well. Well, why can't I certify, why can't I train my own CDL drivers?
So I'll look into that. So with the new federal guidelines, I actually had a 3-hour hash-out meeting with the commissioner at DMV around what are the new rules, what do they really mean, and how can we work around them. An example, we went from 40 testing sites to 9 in Virginia, and so we have a backlog. Some people are sitting out 6 months just to get tested. We're seeing with our, thanks to Senator Ruff and the Workforce Credential Grant, that our state's investing through the community college system, which also hires out third-party training providers that the individuals paying 1/3 and the state pays 2/3, and 38% of those dollars do go to truck driving for CDL. So we have negotiated something. You actually were supposed to have two acres paved lot to test folks, right? So we were like, it's a gravel lot? Yes, check, it's paved. Can we use that Walmart parking lot if no cars are there? Yes, let's check that one, all right? And so we're trying to do workarounds. We're also, we started with community college. We are certifying the system as a whole, which will certify all 23 community colleges, and not go around and certify everyone as a tester and a trainer. So they're trying to streamline a lot of these processes, specifically through DMV, but I'd love to catch up with you later, see what else we can do in this area, because it is a large need. So we're trying to invest money through Senator Ruff, but it's really this testing and training.
Why can't experienced train drivers train drivers?
Yeah, and that kind of model.
And you want us to solve federal government
Absolutely.
stupidity?
It starts locally, goes statewide, and then goes all the way up, right?
Yes, sir. TJ.
Given that the infrastructure for CDE training is expensive, a lot of times businesses are reluctant to take somebody under the age of 18 because of insurance considerations in terms of having them work on industrial equipment or even administering medications or a whole range of things that they could do for training. But that they have to be 18, and maybe that's too little.
Maybe, but I suspect that there's some things that could lead that person to that actual point. A lot of times we put people in fields and then they say, well, like nursing. God, I couldn't stand the blood. Well, how much time was spent and wasted before you reach that point? So there are some things that we ask people who don't belong in the profession. But some of those insurance things we can't control. We just look like the truck drivers. The truck driver program in Southside community has been so good that everybody will hire their drivers, except for the fact that insurance companies don't want small companies to hire drivers who don't have 5 years experience. So an Estes or a company like that self-insures, they can use those drivers all day long. But for the guy who's got 5, 6 trucks in the road, he can't hire them.
So it's fairly obvious who lobbies the federal government to get these rules in place that restricts access to certain careers. Okay? It's the big associations, they want to limit access to their community, so they put a rule in place. It seems to me that you've got an administration in place that's all about cutting these regulations. Somebody just needs to contact and hand them another regulation that needs to be done.
That may well be
Rather
true.
than make excuses that it's a federal problem and not a state problem.
Well, but the insurance issue is an industry issue of, and I'm sure that they have calculated out that more drivers have accidents the first year than they do in the 10th year.
So you regulate an element of a training program that's got to be included that can be done at the local level. We need help, not excuses.
Yeah, the truck driving, you have to watch because there are labor laws on the liaisons with Department of Labor for the governor. Plus a lot of interstate driving laws should be 21 to drive trucks in different states. The other thing is going back to the liability question. One of the things we are examining in my office, so I'm leading a task force on internships, work-based learning in high school and at the universities and colleges, is the liability. We do hear that over and over again. Kentucky has an awesome model. They call it the YES program. Anyone familiar with it? And so what this program is they use a VACo, which is a staffing company, and they actually have one staffing company for the whole state. And what that staffing company is that one door to businesses and that one door for students to apply for internships. And so what also happens is all the students can post their resumes. The businesses, with such a tight labor market, they all know how to use a staffing company. Even if they're exchanging, but what's most important, going back to the liability, is that these students can have some type of liability insurance on them. It's still up to individual companies' liability insurance of what they carry and who can be on their floor if it's advanced manufacturing, but it also covers workers' comp, and that's another thing that apply, especially if you're paying in the labor law association, you have to submit workers' comp on anyone who's working on the floor. So this is a model that we are looking at potentially this year to how do we use that intermediary for high school internships with our companies and make it easier for businesses as well as the students and the liability comes with that. It's important.
I've been a truck driver for 20 years. You got a CDL, license carry anything, everything with it, clean, trained, but it's got to be moved to the final destination back. And when you're behind the curve, and the last stat I had, y'all probably got updated stats, 660-something thousand drivers short need to be considered, and yes, you do have to be 21 to drive across state lines. But when they institute regulations, like you 10 and 10-hour drive, 14 hours total service, and you got a computer sitting next to you that's going to start beeping and tell you when you got to try to get off the highway to take your 30-minute break. God knows if you're hung up in a traffic accident. God knows if you just happen to be, you're not near a rest area where you can get off the road, because right now, Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, you don't want to pull off the side of the road unless they trip on the road. They don't allow it anymore. If people don't realize the dependence on trucks, ride the interstates at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, look at your rest areas, look at your truck stops, and see how many trucks are sitting in there. These are people that got families, they're trying to do the best they can, they're on a timeline, and they got this computer telling them what they can and can't do versus being able to manage it on time. And to this gentleman's point, there's nothing wrong with training a trainer, as long as it's a good, seasoned trainer. Because you can get some bad habits. If you train a trainer, it's not always a good thing. But you can. And there are a lot of good, seasoned drivers out there that are being penalized by some of the new regulations coming in. You're going to push people out that have been driving trucks for 20, 30, 40 years. And that's federal government. No disrespect to the room. I mean, they're going to measure your neck size, tell me whether I can drive a truck or not. Then I might be a little bit overweight. Come on, man. But anyway, I'm sorry. My next size is too big.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so just occurred to me with some of this, the government in some places is providing health insurance.
Can you stand
Yeah,
up?
sorry.
Hard to hear.
The government, I'm sorry, Libby Garvey, Arlington. If the government is providing health insurance, the government provide insurance for the truck driver, and if insurance is really the issue, is that something?
We're talking
No,
about
it sounds like it's a major issue. I'm just throwing that out. I just think sometimes, because like we self-insure, our kind of self-insure to get around some stuff. Around the roads well for us. And if you have the whole big state, and it's not going to be a big deal, I just toss that out as an idea, because some of the governments are being around insurance. So I just
not think that we need to get in the business of the state government ordering small businesses to do anything.
Not providing, no.
Well, providing requires
Yeah.
a lot.
Just think.
I've got a very good friend of mine that runs a trucking company, has 50 road trucks on the road. And a couple of comments that you might help me with. He said that his insurance carrier now is telling him that his drivers that are 60 to 65 years old, they want him to dismiss them, and he cannot find ones to replace them with, and he said these are the guys that really do a good job. Number two is, a lot of his drivers end up at 3:30, 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon, 20 minutes from the home shop, and they shut down. They're done for the week. Now, he's got to spend all weekend going to get his trucks, bringing them back to the yard. And it's costing him a fortune. Another little comment I'll make, in the business I'm in, I try to hire 1 to 2 college students every summer. They want jobs to work, to learn, and I've had them to go on our local volunteer fire department, which I've had one that has a paid full-time job in Charleston, South Carolina. Several that have gone on to different businesses other than what they went to school with. I encourage everybody to go to your local businesses and encourage them to take one in the summertime, teach them, give them another chance to learn something else. It may change their whole career.
Great idea.
Yeah, I do want to say with work-based learning internships with high school students, it really helps communities. And basically, we talked about awareness of great jobs. We want to start retaining some of your talent in the community. It's a great way to reach out and find that talent and try to keep them there.
I'll get my young lady over here to do that. Okay.
So there's nobody behind me, I'm assuming I'm the young lady. Thank you. It's been a while. I think it's great that y'all are talking about kind of the labor skills that people still need. I know my kids all move and change the oil and everything. It has served them well as they get to eventually buy a new car someday. But I would also like to hear you talk about how many jobs we're going to be losing to artificial intelligence, what's going on to prepare the young people for that, because we have a range, right? We have everything you all addressed, plus this really high level coding, robotics, machine learning, all of this that needs to happen too. So I'd like to hear some of your thoughts on that.
Well, in the legislation passed this year was to focus our universities on that. It's been too easy. Well, let me tell you a story about a kid who wanted to be a lawyer. Either his father wanted him to be a lawyer or he wanted him to be a lawyer. I'm not sure which. So we went to UVA. He took the easiest classes he could take so he could get straight A's. And UVA Law School turned me out. But anyway, the reality is that, I don't know where I'm going this far. We're not telling young people what occupations are out there. We print a beautiful manual every couple of years or year. It says how many people are expected in every profession, pretty minute down over the next year, 5-year time period. But the kids never see that. So they are focused on only a few jobs. Depending on which governor you talk to, I think the college got up to 60,000 people that he said needed, that we were short in the high-tech industry. But the pathway legislation we passed this year, that budget, was to focus our colleges that wanted to train more people in those realms, to give them the money to do that. So there are going to be great opportunities there. Yes, there are going to be roadblocks with artificial intelligence, just like there will be robotic trucks in the future. But we can't worry about the future right now. We have to worry about filling the openings that are today. But once you get somebody working and understanding that quality of life and work are paired together, then they will adjust as they go forward into whatever new career might be out there.
Yeah, I do want to thank Senator Ruff for his legislation on the tech talent pipeline and working with the budget. Specifically, this came through kind of part of the deal for Amazon coming to Virginia. We have been on tour a couple weeks ago. I was with Amazon, some executives down Southwest Virginia. And so they're coming to a town near you probably, learning about Virginia and thinking about really asking those questions about what's the future of Virginia and how are you training folks. And so this past on November 1st, through the legislation for Senator Ruff, 11 universities, public universities, signed MOUs with the governor about producing tech talent, about 31,000 over the next 10 years, and we've invested money into them on a performance basis. So you have to actually have a graduate from the university, then the university get reimbursed for the graduate. So it's kind of a model similar to kind of the workers credential grant that we're looking at, pay for performance model. We know that actually 25% of jobs last year were in the tech sector. Usually 1 out of 10 Virginians are sometimes in that strictly that technology center, that sector. And we're also trying to grow those pockets in economic development across the state. One of the things we have seen is when we look at trends is advanced manufacturing, which is kind of a bread and butter for a lot of our communities. We've seen it stable, actually some of the jobs go down because of automation. We also know that about 2/3, they're saying by a McKinsey report, 2/3 of jobs that will not exist or look differently by year 2030. And so we have to think about what are those technology skills. One of the things I always tell people is if you can fix things and fix people, you probably have a job. Looking at that, but anything else that we can see that can be potentially automated, and still, nursing, they're scared. I mean, doctors, they're doing surgery with robots, not, so much watching the robot, of course, but really it is a concern to think about. So if everyone have a baseline technology skills, we've also increased that every level of SOLs in any of the standards of learning have computer science. You start learning computer science in kindergarten. Looks different than a computer, but looks about algorithms and logic and how do you think about things differently in Virginia. So we are moving our education system to kind of support some of those 21st century, if it's AI, if it's drone technology, which is around AI, the unmanned systems, as well as the technology and coding and programming. But it's still something that I'm not sure, we still have to lift all boats. And I think there's a lot of adults out there that we need to reskill, retrain. Still working on some of the coal miners that lost their jobs. Think about what those new skills look like in some of those communities is really important as well.
I just wanted to kind of back to CTE. I just want to make a statement. There's a lot of challenges in everybody's reliability, getting buy-in from businesses. Our county sort of collectively made our county made a decision a number of years ago that we were going to make it a priority for the kids, for the adults. And once the community decided they were going to do it, we invested money into the school system to train. We paired with our businesses, so our kids in our CTE they're exposed as early as middle school, they're exposed to STEM in kindergarten, and we invest that money really, really early, and then when they get to high school and middle school, it's not identifying kids who shouldn't go to college, it's giving every kid an opportunity to go to some of those classes to decide for themselves if, well, hey, I like welding, I'm going to do this instead. Or just to give them the skills when they get out of high school, they're going to college, but by the way, I can also fix a car. So we have 35 different paths in our CTE program, and once you get through your second year, you're paired with a business. So then you work for 2 years with a business, and then you leave, and you're either going to go to school, or you end up working, hopefully, for that local company. Or you're certified, we walk 20 or 30 things every year, out with CNAs, anestheticians, auto mechanics, building trades, all of those things. And it's just because we have 30 or 40 people in the community that work with the businesses, help develop the curriculum, and work out all the stuff that there are issues. Insurance is an issue. Getting by and we can train these kids, but we're going to get an internship for. And you just, at some point, we're lucky because we're small locality, there's not high school. But everybody sort of collectively agreed that if you're going to do it, you're going to have to go all in. There's challenges, but it's nothing that you can't figure out.
Do your seniors get early release?
Yeah, and juniors too.
You still get that CTE?
Yeah, because it's an internship with CTE, and it's all on one campus, so it's partially in the high school building. There's this CTE building there. We're going to be building another one in about 2 years, double the size. And depending on what it is, our auto trade is done right there, and then they go out to one of the 4 or 5 local businesses and end up working for pay at those locations. We have a little bit of manufacturing, metalwork, welding, all kinds of stuff. They get baseline training for some things inside, and when we can't handle it, they go outside, and they get paid.
And what county are you, sir?
Sorry?
What
What
county?
county?
It's Louisa County.
Louisa. Okay. Yes, ma'am, sir.
I guess it follows up with this statement. Is when I was in 8th grade, I took a vocational orientation class. And it walked me through the different parts of CTE. It was a really good life skill class, frankly. I use it every day now with what I learned back then. Is there a requirement? Is it a local option to do that sort of thing, or is it a opportunity for the state saying we need to do some sort of an orientation for our middle school, high school kids? I mean, this is an ignorance question on my part, how does that look in this day and age? Is there either a directive or opportunity at the local level for us to just implement some program like that? Even if it's just to orient them on building, drafting, masonry, metalworks as part of a 1 semester course. Is that out there?
The Department of Education has been trying to direct it without demanding it because they don't want to step on too many toes unnecessarily. But I think that the public is understanding the need to have some skill when you come out of high school. But to get to that point, you really have to start looking at it at middle school level. So there needs to be a continuum that starts there. And ideally, that's what the schools are doing. How many of them are doing it properly right now?
Do we lose that, though, as a result of the reorientation towards college, or is it just something that just kind of fell by the wayside, it just wasn't reinforced? I mean, what's the kind of the history on that, you know?
I would answer that by saying where I started. All educators have degrees. Some of them have multiple degrees. They measure things in degrees. They do not look at vocational with the same attitude that they do.
Right.
And that's whether it's the superintendent of schools or whether it's the principal or it's a counselor.
Yeah, we also have 2 different types of diplomas. There are advanced diplomas, more like college readiness, but you can have CTE, and then our standard diploma requires 2 certifications, industry recognized certifications to graduate. So we've already set up folks for 2 tracks, which might be an issue. I was recently with a principal at a pretty large high school and wanted to implement that every student in that high school take a CTE course, and they just build a new CTE academy. We gave $60. It's right next door, so they can run folks through. He had a lot of pushback, and it's from parents, because parents said, what do you mean my student's going to take a course that can't get honors credit, and it's not going to be weighted, and it's going to hurt his GPA, and then he's not going to get GPA? You get that a lot. And so thinking about what, I always think you should weight some, so there's some IB CTE courses, not AP, that get the weight, but there's a huge parent pushback for even doing that's not helpful to college. I mean, I totally agree with you though. I think life skills are super important.
It's maybe.
Lunenburg County, we're a small rural county. I'm sorry.
Right back here.
My son's in 7th grade, but he was in 6th grade last year, and they did a course where they had to rotate through all of the electives that are offered at the middle school. And so during that 6-week or 9-week course, he followed along each week. He try a different course. And so one of those courses included resume building at 6th grade. He was 11. Resume building, interview skills. That is a systemic issue for us, it's the work ethic. It's not necessarily, I have to decide when I'm 17 or 16 what I want to do for the rest of my life. It's, do I even want to work the rest of my life? And that's a lot of the problem. They're not seeing that in their homes. And so they don't understand that you've got to do that. So in a depressed county with a high poverty rate, it is very difficult for them to see the value of getting outside of the home. They're being raised by someone other than mom and dad both working. They're being raised by other people. It's putting the value and how do we work that value back in so that they can see the offerings that are available to them. They also have to build that personal work skill. That's my big concern. A lot of that, it starts at home, but we've got to figure out how to integrate that into the education. And it excites the kids when they do rotate through those courses. That has helped. I've seen a lot of them get excited about different things.
Yeah, that's been one of my largest complaints, especially in a tight labor market, is work ethic, making sure there's a company near Martinsville that said if a person shows up the first 6 weeks, every day on time, they get a $1,000 bonus. A company in Blacksburg told me that if you don't take over your annual leave allotment and you show up and you work hard, they give you $100 a month, and then you get a $1,200 Christmas bonus that they had to do just to motivate folks to show up all the time. So we're seeing more and more of that, but it's pretty, like when you think about that, you know, that's a challenge. And again, we need more people working because we have a lot more jobs. So thinking of how we're going to pull those people on the side that they might not have family demonstrating what work ethic looks like. And no, it is challenging.
On that note, the advent and subsequent increase now of gig markets, you have a lot of youth kind of looking at, well, I can pick and choose my own schedule. I don't need to show up and do this job. Is that being looked at as a foe of the development of our workforce here in Virginia? Because TaskRabbit, Uber, you name it, that you have to choose. And how's that, you know what I mean? How do you kind of navigate that as you develop your work or make plans to do so?
Above my pay
We are seeing more employers do flexible schedules. So kind of to go back to, if we're trying to grab some people on the sidelines, specifically an example is Croyan, you know, last week we did a healthcare roundtable industry. They said that you sign up for what shifts you want to do. But they said they do have a hard time filling the weekends, but you're kind of reigned. You know, if you want to come in for 4 hours, they just need workers. So there are seeing some flexible shifts, but you're right. I mean, they want to sleep in until 10 and not get to work. It's a huge issue. But we are seeing a little bit of decline through that gig economy that's supposed to, we have a future work task force. My deputy chief workforce advisor chairs that we're working with some national partners, MIT, NGA, and Aspen, to look at that. The numbers haven't gone up like we thought everyone was going to be a gig worker in 10 years. The numbers are actually declining a little bit, so which is good, right? Because we're seeing more and more, you know, full-time jobs, hopefully with benefits. But it is, they do have that flexible. They come in right out of college, there's some flexibility too. Some cost problems.
You guys partner with health and safety folks with correctional industries that are already folks have their resources. They've got their CDL, they're able to work once they are released. Are you guys partnering with those at all, or just focusing on education piece for safety college?
No, we work with our justice involved folks again. Really working with employers to say these are the great workers. You know, how do you hire them? Where are they? How do you connect? And so trying to connect them right before they leave. You know, during their transition is really important. We're seeing a lot more in the construction, again, going back to construction, high-paid jobs. They're like hiring tons and tons of folks right out of the corrections facilities as well. We are working on licensure issues, right? So sometimes we have licensure issues with different occupations about who can be in that occupation. A lot of times it's very vague. So just kind of looking at what the potential language is to make sure that they have their second chance. we know Virginia has the lowest citizen rate in the nation, and we want to keep it that way. We know really with that, as well as substance use is another one that's not similar, but is one of the things that we know that people who struggle with substance use, if they have a job, are more likely to stay clean. And so how do we leverage making sure that we can connect everyone to those jobs?
I just want to say I applaud the direction that you guys have gone in, because I think, with the STEM program, that is the way to go. And then offering this different tracks, so that maybe someone that wants to go liberal arts, someone that wants to teach, and so on, but they don't have to be ashamed on the other side if they want life skills. And I'm a parent who has a police officer for a daughter, a son that's a minister, another son that's a emergency room doctor, another son that's an engineer, right? And my youngest daughter's working on PT, and I've taught them life skills. So if I can share one anecdote to this, because our pediatrician didn't really learn many life skills, right? And so several times he had a leak in the sink, and he went in and he tried to fix it, and it broke down, and he tried to fix it again, it broke down, and I said, enough. So she calls the plumber. The plumber comes out, fixes the sink in about 15 minutes, then gives him the bill, and he goes, oh my goodness! He says, I felt the same way when I was a doctor.
A lot of great jobs out there, trying to figure out how we get them into them. Good opportunities now.
Any other questions? I'm going to end on a high note. I'll tell you about an experience in Dinwiddie County. 7 years ago, we created a teen expo for the ages 12 and up in the springtime. And 2 years ago, we had an entity to come from Southside Virginia Community College. That was, did not know about the program, but it's the electrical pole program that my friends in Nottoway County and Dinwiddie, we share at Fort Pickett. And so since that date, we've had a number of students, whether that have graduated, that have gone through that program and are being employed either by Dominion or by our co-ops, which are in all of our communities out there, and they are immediately going into the workforce. They are getting their CDL license and other things associated with it, and they're starting at almost $20 an hour in about 11 weeks. So I put that out there, and I say that for a reason, because there's housing at Fort Pickett. If you have an adult or even anybody else that's transitioning that would like to go into that field, they can actually go there and stay Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday and go home on the weekend. And that's, anybody can come and be there in that program. And I think it's about 11 weeks. So that's another example of something very positive that is happening on that other side. And they're snapped up just like that.
They have over a 90% hiring rate, thanks to Senator Ruff, who put money into that program.
It's a very good
I
program.
think it's higher than 90%, but they can't prove it because they can't find someone. Someone's out of
They
state
go out of
to work.
state, we can't, right? Yeah, I think you're right. It's right.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, let's give them a round.